Hello, Talisman the Magical Quest game fans. The Talisman Wizard here on a bright sunny day in Alaska. We're going to talk some strategy about the Talisman 5th edition characters. First off, we got the Wizard. You begin the game with 2 spells. If you ever run out of spells, immediately draw a new spell card, ensuring that you always have at least 1 spell. When you attack another character, you can choose to use Psychic Combat. You cannot use this ability if encountered by another character. Since he always has 1 spell, obviously he's a great spellcaster. He can really control what's going on the battlefield, so to speak. My biggest tip for that is definitely focus on getting through those spells. Even if you have something that isn't too relevant or applicable to the situation at hand, you want to try to cast that spell to get rid of it so that you can get something more useful. Don't be afraid to cast something like healing on another player just to get that out of your hand if you're looking for something like mesmerism, where you could steal a follower from someone. And if someone has a really great follower, say the gnome, which allows you to have a much easier pathway through the craft route in the inner region. If you're going through the mines and just getting through the portal of power, it makes it a lot easier if you have the gnome. So if you can, for example, cast whatever spell you got, get it out of the way, and then try to cycle through the spells to finally get mesmerism, and then steal that gnome from someone else, then it can speed you up. Since he's got craft 5, he's already pretty high with craft. Get the gnome, then all of a sudden you can speed your way through the inner region. And then we've got the assassin. So this is great because it actually, according to the rules, this ability here, when you battle any character or creature with strength, you can choose to assassinate them. You cannot assassinate when you are attacked by another character. When you assassinate, battle takes place as normal, except that your opponent may not roll a die to add to their strength. If you win the battle using assassination, the opponent loses 1 life. You cannot take an object or gold instead. So what's great about this gal, is that, of course, this applies to creatures too. So if you're going against a strength 7 dragon, that dragon does not get to roll. You do get to assassinate it when you draw it. And then all of a sudden, if you roll the right number to get higher than 7, in addition to your strength, then you've assassinated that dragon. You take him as a trophy, and boom, you're pretty darn set. You can start leveling up your strength pretty quick. The best thing about the assassin, though, that I found out, is that it also applies to the elder dragon, which is the final boss to win the game. You can assassinate the elder dragon. That is huge. The assassin is fantastic for that reason. The monk, your inner strength allows you to add your starting craft value to your strength during battle. When you roll to pray, you may add 1 die to the die total. You may not use weapons or armor during battle. Initially you might think, oh, no weapons or armor, that kind of sucks, but he makes up for it with adding his starting craft to his strength. So that's an instant bonus of 3. His craft is 3. Instant bonus of 3 to your strength when you're fighting. So right from the get-go, if you're in a strength fight, he's already got strength 5. And that's pretty versatile because he's also got the straight up craft of 3, which is decent to start with. It does come in handy when you're praying to add 1 to the die total. I would say the most applicable thing would be if you're going to the temple and you're rolling 2 dice. That can help you a lot in that situation to get out of something sticky. If you roll something low, you could add 1 more and just get over that threshold. The Sorceress. You begin the game with 1 spell. When you attack another character, you can choose to use Psychic Combat. You cannot use this ability if attacked by another character. You can attempt to beguile another character on the space you land on. If you succeed, you may take 1 gold, 1 follower, or 1 object of your choice. And then you roll 1 die and see who you can beguile. The only exception is she can't steal the maiden, unicorn, and princess followers with her beguile ability. But that's pretty great because most characters, you know, in a regular strength battle, you can't just steal a follower. It's objects, gold, or a life. But with her, you land on someone, you could potentially steal a follower, which is great. And also, that attacking with Psychic can be great too, because then you could go after other characters using Psychic, not just Strength. Now, Dwarf, that is one of my personal favorites. You may choose not to roll in the crags or chasm. If you roll, you must accept the result. So those are usually not so great of spaces, especially the chasm, where you could have your followers killed or lose lives. You could just sit there and do nothing. You can evade creatures and characters in the hills. That's pretty nice. You don't have to deal with any craft 10 demons or anything like that if you go there. And then you've got, when rolling in the cave, you may add 1 to the die total. With the cave, if you roll 1 through 3, it's usually pretty bad. So if you roll a 3 or higher with him, it's always good. Or anything lower than that, it's not as bad as it could be. 1 is the worst. You need only roll 1 die when attempting to open the portal of power with craft. That's pretty great, because then normally you have to roll 2 dice to try to pick the lock with craft, and you have to get equal to or lower than your craft level. With him, you only roll 1 die, so really all you need to get through the portal is a craft of 6 or higher, and then you automatically open the door. You need only roll 2 dice in the mines. That's fantastic. If your craft is pretty high, it gives you a much better chance of making it through the mines and not getting kicked out somewhere else, and you can keep progressing through the inner region. Probability wise, it's really great, because normally you have to roll 3 dice and subtract your craft from it and come up with the number. So you want to get as low of a number as you can, and 2 dice, that means it's a lower number than 3. You're unaffected by the maze card. That's pretty nice. The maze is just annoying. The elf. You may choose not to roll in the forest. If you roll, you must accept the result. You may evade creatures and characters in the woods, and if you are on a wood space, instead of rolling the die for movement, you may instead move to any other wood space in the same region. I love this one, the elf, because she, because of that teleporting between the woods thing, you could potentially, there's like 3 different wood spaces on the outer region. So you go to one wood space, and essentially because of that evading of creatures and characters there, you can avoid bad things happening to you. That's fantastic. And along with that, you could potentially end up, jump to one woods, and maybe you find the Fountain of Strength or whatever, and you start getting those strength points that are just sitting there for you. Then you jump on your next turn to the other woods, you reveal something else great, like the Fountain of Craft, whatever that card's called. Then after you've revealed some good stuff on those wood spaces, you could jump from that woods to that woods and keep going back and forth each turn, and end up leveling up your strength or craft a lot really quick, or taking advantage of whatever good things you find. It could go the other way too, but you could end up getting something not so great on those spaces, like a craft 10 demon, but you can evade it at least if you land on something like that, because you're the elf. The priest. You begin the game with 1 spell. When you roll to pray, you may add 1 to the die total. You can automatically defeat any enemy spirit without resorting to psychic combat. When you use this ability, you may either keep the enemy card as a trophy or discard it to draw 1 spell. You may not use weapons during battle. Other than no weapons, it's pretty fantastic to be the priest, because you can add 1 when you're praying, which could get you some good things or out of some sticky situations. And the fact that you can automatically destroy any enemy spirit, that means if you find that craft 10 demon that's in the deck, you can just destroy it, keep it as a huge trophy point gain for leveling up your craft, or you could just go ahead and get 1 spell. If it's some little craft 1 Lemure or something, you can get a spell out of it if the trophy points don't mean much to you. The Ghoul has the psychic combat ability when they attack other characters. If you take a life during psychic combat from another character, you can gain that life, so it's kind of a life steal thing, which is great. When you kill an enemy in battle, you can end up raising it from the dead to keep it as a follower instead of a trophy, and then during battle, which is strength based, you can discard 1 of your raised followers to add its strength to yours for the duration of the battle. You can only use 1 raised follower per battle, so you could go along and start killing a bunch of little tiny strength level things, or you could kill something like a dragon and then take it as a follower, and then when you end up finding something more powerful, you could take that dragon in and start fighting with it along your side. The warrior, when you roll during battle to determine your attack score, roll 2 dice instead of 1 and take the higher roll. You may use 2 weapons at the same time. Pretty straightforward. The only not so great thing about the warrior is they only have 1 fate, but then again, in this new version, you can get fate pretty easily by gaining it at the graveyard and other things. But again, another probability thing when you're fighting. You got 2 dice, you get to pick the higher one, better probability of winning more strength battles and leveling up. Starts with a strength of 4, so that's pretty great. And you can use 2 weapons at the same time, so you could use, theoretically, you get like the Holy Lance, which is great against dragons. You could use that to add 3 to your strength against a dragon, and then you could use, say, the Rune Sword at the same time. If you're a neutral character, you could have both of those things, and then you add another strength against the dragon. Plus, if you kill something with the Rune Sword, you get a life. So in that case, it's pretty awesome when you start getting some of the cool magical weapons and stuff, and you get to use both of them. The Thief is a great one. You can take an object or gold from another character on the space you land on. You can also get free cards from the village or market day. You take 1 card from the purchase deck at no cost. Pretty good bargain deal there. Overall, I enjoy playing as the Thief because it's kind of fun if you're getting more serious about player versus player interactions. It's great to be able to run up on someone and say, hey, give me a gold. You got nothing that can evade this, pretty much. Or, I want that Rune Sword from you. I love the Rune Sword. Anyway, Thief's great. Now, the Troll is definitely tanky. Starts with a strength of 6, only craft of 1. So that's his weakness. But you can choose not to roll in the crags. You can heal a life if you roll a 6 for your movement, not exceeding your starting life value. So he can regenerate. He's overall just a great tank, and he's fun to go and beat up on strength things, level up your strength, and he's fun. He's also got 6 lives to begin with. Overall, the best character that has been pretty much the best character in any base game version of Talisman ever since the start is the Prophetess, because she begins the game with 1 spell, always has a spell like the Wizard. She can throw back cards from the adventure deck she doesn't like, so once per turn, whenever you draw adventure cards, you can discard 1 drawn card of your choice that you do not wish to encounter and draw a new card to replace it. That's just fantastic and game breaking practically. I mean, in some ways, you go land on, say, the Hidden Valley in the middle region, and you draw 3 cards, and maybe 2 of them are great, and the other one not so great. You could throw back that other one, that Craft 10 Demon or that Strength 7 Dragon, and hope for something better. You have to face whatever you get next, but it just gives you options. And at any time, you may look at the spell cards of other players. That's huge, actually. You definitely want to not forget to do that when you're in the middle of the game as the Prophetess. If other characters have spells, you want to know what's going on. You want to be sure to use that, because that's a huge tactical advantage. And that's all for today. We've been through all of the base game characters of Talisman 5th Edition. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. And have a great day.